Hi, neighbor. Welcome to the Pre-Order Podcast. My name is Bob Lingle of Good Neighbor Bookstore, and in today's episode, we're chatting with Catherine Newman, author of Sandwich and the upcoming novel Wreck. We talk about parenting, the writing process, and I monopolized the first 10 minutes of the conversation talking about the ridiculous day that I had leading up to the interview. Feel free to skip past that. If you're new to the show, please like, share, and subscribe. So, a lot of your writing is about family, personal dynamics. So I feel like you'll appreciate the day that I had.
Okay,
It started
tell me, Bob.
It started last night. I have 3 kids, 11, 9, and 4. Normally, the 4-year-old is the best sleeper and gives us no issue. Our 9-year-old has developed my habit of having night terrors, which has fortunately gone away from me since I started medication. But the 4-year-old, I don't know what the deal was, if it was like growing pains, what was going on with that, but he kept waking up in the boys' share room, so he was waking his brother up. I came downstairs, and when I was coming downstairs, my daughter came out of her room, and she's like, I can't fall asleep. I'm like, she's the 11-year-old. I'm like, deal with it. Like, try harder. So she went back into her room with a huff. The 4-year-old kept waking up, falling back asleep, waking up, falling back asleep. Like, it was easier than I've had with the other kids where like he would just pop up and be whiny. I'm like, Henrik, just put your head back down. And he would put his head back down and he would fall back asleep. But it took a while. So I'm like, all right, I went back upstairs. And then it was like 1 o'clock in the morning that he was really wound up. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go down. And I laid down in his bed, passed out. He passed out. I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, all right, I'm getting out of the bed. I'm not going upstairs. I'm just going to sleep on the couch in the living room. So I laid down. It took me until 6 o'clock to finally fall asleep. Then my emergency alarm at 7 went off. Like, I just have it set because normally I wake up before that. But I'm like, 7 is the last, like the latest I can possibly wake up
and get
to go to work. So alarm went off at 7. My 4-year-old woke up and he was like in a panic looking for me. He went upstairs. I was downstairs. He came downstairs, had already wet his pants because he needed me to get him to the bathroom.
No.
So while I was getting him changed and cleaned up and starting to rinse his clothes in the kitchen sink, he noticed our neighbor's cat, which is an indoor-outdoor cat, was on our deck. He's like, oh, Radar's here. I'm like, oh, hey, Radar. And then Radar walked away. And then Henrik said, oh, birdies. And every year we have a robin family that sets up a nest on our deck and has, I don't know, I'm going to say litter because I don't know what the bird name is.
Yeah.
But they have a series of kids on our deck.
Bird children, they're called.
Bird children, yep. And these baby birds that had just hatched like a week and a half ago were sitting on our deck. One of them looked less alive than the other one.
No.
So I'm like, oh my God. So I went out. Henrik went with me. And I went downstairs and I didn't have my glasses on. I didn't have my contacts in. I'm like, I need to be able to see to deal with this. So I'm like, Henrik, stay out here. Make sure the cat doesn't come back. I'm going to go and get my glasses. I'm like, don't touch anything. He's like, don't touch the dead bird? No, don't touch anything. So I went up, got my glasses, got gloves on. I picked up the one bird and I put it in a nest. I was picking up the other bird and putting it in the nest. And my wife popped out and she said, that's the wrong nest because we never took down the nest from last year.
Oh my God.
I still had the bird in my hand and I put it in the nest. I grabbed the other one. I put it in the nest and then went back inside. The one bird had hopped out. It was a whole scene. My wife has given me updates throughout the day. But in addition to owning and operating the bookstore, I also work full-time for the County Chamber of Commerce. So I left the house at the time I'm supposed to be at the office, but it's kind of, we have people there. It's not like super strict hours. So that wasn't a huge deal. But I got to work. We had a ribbon cutting at a new plant-based energy protein thing. They sell coffee, energy drinks, and plants. So we were doing a ribbon cutting there. Went back to the office, we were all surprised that we had this event on our calendar that none of us paid attention to, that Aflac was doing a presentation for us on supplemental insurance at noon. So suddenly we were just in this meeting at noon that no one was expecting. After that, the day was kind of a bit more normal, except for the fact that at 4:00, we were invited to go see our congressman and the ambassador to Sweden at the Robert H. Jackson Center. So we went there. The event started late. There was what seemed like an extremely long Swedish dance thing that was going on. And I was just watching the clock, and I'm like far up in the seats. And I'm like, all right, this is getting closer to the time that I need to be the hell out of here so I can get to the bookstore, set up my thing. And so then I got here about 6:14, got my stuff set up, sat down, and I am here. I have had a couple of energy drinks, 3, including the plant-based one that I got at the ribbon cutting.
Okay, and they made you real chatty, and we could just stop here. You could just tell that story, and that could be the podcast.
Yep. So we're not here to talk about me, but I thought you would appreciate that story.
I really understand. Really hear you.
So I love Sandwich, and then I was extremely excited to see that Rec, which it comes out October 28th, was out in the world. I immediately, as quickly as I could, downloaded a digital review copy so I could dive deep back into the world of Rocky and company. For those not familiar with Sandwich, it goes into the sandwich generation in Sandwich, Massachusetts, and it's a week in the life of this family that is multi-generations, and Rec revisits that family. So what inspired you to revisit Rocky and her family?
That's a good question. This is great for me, Bob, because that's probably a question I'm going to get moving into this publication. So I should know how to answer it. I really do write autofiction. Everything I write hews very close to my life. The characters, the narrative voice, a lot of what actually happens, certainly all of the emotions of the narrator. So between We All Want Impossible Things and Sandwich, I was like, oh, I got to make it be like a different family. You know, it can't just keep being the same family. So weirdly, I changed it to be a family actually more resembling my actual family. Like 2 kids, an older son and a younger daughter, long marriage, elderly parents. And then I had another story I wanted to tell, and it was going to be the same, basically the same narrative voice, because I don't know how to not write in that voice. I've only ever written in that voice. And I was like, oh, I got to figure out like the configuration of this family to tell this other story. And then I was like, just stop, just let it be the same family. Because the characters kind of insisted on themselves. You know, I know them well in and out of fiction, this set of people. And it seemed foolish to try to contort the story I wanted to tell into a new set of characters. So I let it come out through this set of characters who seemed to not be done populating my fiction.
Off of that, what is the emotional experience like for you writing this when it's stories that are so close to you?
Yeah. You mean writing it or having it go out into the world, or both?
Both.
Which did you mean?
We'll start with writing it.
I mean, I feel like, I'm so impressed by people who are like world builders, like people who have actual imaginations and create, like worlds and populate them with people they don't even know, characters who don't exist in the world. Because I don't do that, there's a lot about writing this way that's very easy. A lot of the dialogue I am lifting out of the copious notes I take in my actual life, because the people I live with say such excellent things all the time. So I write everything down. So that part is easy. I know the characters well. I know what they sound like in conversation. And I love writing. I love writing about characters who are so close to my own family. I'm just like madly in love with my family. And I love getting to like write about them and write all the funny things they say. And then it goes into the world, and then mostly that's fine. My dad doesn't always love. It's so funny. I feel like Mort, the dad, is everyone's favorite character. That said, my dad is not always in love with the way he's represented by that character. And that's just painful to me because I feel like he's the best character. Like Rocky loves him. I love him. So there's just there's no friction with my kids, not with my husband. But there can be a little friction with my dad, just to be totally frank about it.
Yeah. Through TikTok, have become friends with Jared Krasoska, who wrote Hey Kiddo, and interviewed him, and we had kind of similar upbringings, and I have tried to write about my own, the experience of like doing a deep dive into that and just the trauma that it brings up. I usually stop writing and I don't finish the projects, but he had made the comment that sticks with me, which is not a great comment, but an honest one, of it is easier to write about things as people pass away. Obviously, you don't want your dad to pass away, but just the experience of when you're doing autofiction, or even more so a memoir, that struggle of, people are going to read this, and this is a reflection of that.
And fiction at least gives you a pretty thick screen over everybody. You know, I would never write memoir again. I never felt like I could be as honest as I wanted to be in memoir. In fiction, I feel like I can be incredibly honest, at the very least, about the feelings, even if I have to fictionalize this or that detail about the plot or what unfolds. I feel like I can be completely honest. I think in memoir,
yeah,
I mean, it's really tough. Like, I think it makes sense to write it all down as memoir and then think about telling a fictional story that would allow you to tell the truth about it, which memoir doesn't always do, weirdly.
I appreciated in the acknowledgments of Rec, and I don't recall if you had it for Sandwich, but the credits to the personal stories that you had listed from friends and family. Well, there was just, between Sandwich, Rec, and I had read We All Want Impossible Things, and I'm reading through Catastrophic Happiness now. I have never, like, I've had authors make me laugh. I've had authors make me cry. I've never had one author make me do both things multiple times while reading one book. So hats off to you for that emotional roller coaster that you send us on.
Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it.
What are the conversations like for the stories that aren't your own, that you're taking those bits and pieces? I'm assuming that you ask permission and just let them figure it out, or your eyes.
Remember, they're such small, they're very tiny details. I think by and large, the things I'm crediting are like one-liners. I think every single person credited in the acknowledgments knows exactly who I am and how I work and what risk they're at of saying anything to me. Mostly I think people get a kick out of seeing you credit their like like random reference to something, like Weird Al Yankovic's kid, who somebody really, in my daughter's friend group, somebody really had like dated that person, and I just thought that was such a great, crazy thing. So I did borrow odds and ends.
I've discovered that I am going to be the dad that just cries at everything, and it's
my God, I know dads like that. You
And,
are, Bob. You're going to be the dad that cries at everything. It won't get any better.
well, it hit me because my daughter, who's the oldest, is 11 now, and she's getting involved in, like, she was always just like very quiet, reserved, and like she's still that way, but she's gotten into doing musicals.
Oh my
And they
God.
recently did Alice in Wonderland Jr., and she's done like, this was her first time having a solo where she was a part of the ensemble for other productions. And she was out there as the caterpillar singing, doing a little dance by herself. And I'm just
Bawling. I feel that's so hard.
But I enjoy, like, I try to write down different things and try to not overshare on Facebook, but just like the little things that kids will say. I had one come up from 7 years ago where she was 4, and it was just this back and forth of, I want to talk about stuff. What are you thinking about that you want to talk about? And at the time we were in the process of moving. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking about the move that we have and how exciting it's going to be, but how much work it's going to be. I'm like, what are you thinking about? And they're just one line, unicorns. Like,
which is just so great. The thought bubble over your head that's like filled with logistics, and the one over her head that's just like a unicorn with a rainbow mane.
Yeah.
It's so precious. I love it.
So, we kind of got into it, but I'm curious of how much of Catherine is inside of Rocky.
A lot. Really, a ton. As much as you could possibly imagine. Yeah. I mean, just really a lot. Like that's how I don't know. I think, there's a lot of scenes that are pure fiction, the scenes themselves. Most of the feelings are very, very real and lifted from life.
You had mentioned that you have always written in the voice that you are writing, which I love that voice. So I hope that doesn't change. Was there a process, or because you've been writing for a while for different magazines and now novels and middle grade? Oh, while it's on my mind, this is a side note. My friend Tori, who owns a bookstore in Nebraska, Sower Books, read, and now the title is escaping me because of the day that I had, and I didn't write it down. But the middle grade novel that you had, that is
one mixed up night, not in print. Yeah.
Yes, no longer in print, and she is furious because she absolutely loved that title.
That's so nice to hear. Yeah, we're trying to see if we can get that back out, actually.
All right, I will let her know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now I lost my train of thought of finding your voice. So did you, writing articles and those personal stories that you have been writing over time, was that kind of where you found that voice? Were you inspired by other writers as you were getting started?
Yeah, I write very close to the way I talk. It sort of started because I was a PhD student at UC Santa Cruz, and I wrote a dissertation. And this sounds like one of those like apocryphal stories about how someone became a writer, but I basically was in trouble the whole time because it was too voicey. It was like, this is not an academic style you can write in. And I was like, why not? Yeah. Just in the way of young people, I was like, why can't I? But it's more fun to read this way. And everyone was like, that's not the norm. This is not the convention of academic writing. And A, I learned that I wasn't probably fit to be an academic. And B, I had a way of writing that I really wanted to write in. And I started writing. I mean, my writing career is insane, but I started writing for money for a friend who was the editor-in-chief of Family Fun magazine. And I just would write anything for anybody. True whoring behavior as a writer. I was so excited to be writing, but I mostly wrote in that voice, and it wasn't always what people wanted, even though they thought they wanted it, where I'd be like, why did you hire me? This is what I have to offer. And they were like, yeah, we don't really like it. I was like, okay, well, whatever. Not that I could fake it in other voices, like for cold hard cash, I would do it.
Yeah.
But I mostly have just written in that voice.
I went to school for video production and focused in documentary film, but I had always viewed doing wedding videos as the horroring out of video production.
Oh my God. Yes, I did the wedding videos of writing. Exactly. Yes. I wrote everyone's alumni magazine and I wrote advertorial copy for whatever. Yes, exactly. It's that.
Have your own distinct voice, but do you have inspirations from other writers or authors that you've enjoyed?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 100%, you know, because Wreck is a book, I mean, to some extent, Sandwich is also similar. Sandwich is a book that's trying to write in a comedic way about the like reproductive horror show of the reproductive body. And then Wreck is a lot of book about illness and treatment. And the person who is my absolute idol in this realm is Sam Irby, who writes, you know, Meaty and We Are Never Meeting in Real Life. And she writes about illness in where you are just like laughing out loud, realizing that she's talking about like shopping, you know, for an enema or something. And it is the most generous act, the way she does it. It feels like it's just comedic, but what it is this deeply humanizing kind of generous production of like, you're okay, babe, you're normal, it's fine. And so I think about her a lot when I'm writing. Like, I want to be funny. I want people to feel better instead of worse about themselves. You know, the world is so shitty in so many ways. And it's like you want someone to read your book and be like, okay, I'm the same and it's okay. Versus like, oh, this is unattainable in some way. Or so Sam Irby. And then I just read, did you get the arc of Lily King's new book, Heart the Lever?
No, I don't think we did.
Bob, get it. It's so good. And that is a book that is, I just read it and I loved it so much. And it's a book that does this incredible job of the thing I'm always trying to do. So I studied it like scripture, where she holds multiple truths through the entire book. She doesn't decide. There's not a path that lands on a decision. It's just, it's like a person's experience of having like multiple loves of her life, not in a sliding doors way, just in the way life is, where it's like, usually the story is like, oh, it turns out you're in love with someone else and you leave your person. That kind of story we're familiar with. You have to pick. It has to end in a singular way.
Yeah.
Lily King writes these books where these multiple truths are just held by the narrator, by the character, and I am obsessed.
What is your writing process? Do you have a typical schedule? And I'm curious, as a father of 3 kids, and extremely busy, as I articulated in full in the beginning of this, has your writing process and your structure changed as your kids have gotten older now that they're off on their own?
Yes, totally. I mean, it has changed so much. I've always written full time, but I didn't start writing fiction in a serious way until the pandemic. I had not written fiction for adults until the end of 2020. And my kids by then, were 20 and 17. I mean, they were home because the pandemic.
Yeah.
But nobody needed anything from me in particular. I wasn't going to I have a job at the college in our town. I wasn't going to that job. And I felt like I really had this time to write, which was incredible. And I needed it. Like the way I write is very, if I'm writing a novel, I do it every day and I'm really intense about it. I think about it all the time. I wake up and go for a walk and figure out my problems with it. I come back and I write really intensely. I get jacked on caffeine. Like I have these like obsessive ways that I do it. And I couldn't have done it like that. I wrote full time when I had little kids, but it was not, I mean, they were in school a lot, but also it just was writing I could come in and out of, and I had a billion deadlines. So they protected me in a way. It was like, I just had to write. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like, I had to write so we could pay our bills. It wasn't like this. I didn't have some artistic vision about myself. And now I feel like I actually have like the headspace to devote to it. Like the story you told, which honestly is such a mom story. Like mostly we hear stories like that from women. Mm-hmm. But that kind of occupiedness of your head, where you're doing like a million things, but also very occupied by the kids and what they need. And like, if they don't sleep and your emotions about them. And I feel like that kind of occupation is not conducive for me. It was conducive to creative thought. And I wrote a ton about parenting. Like that was amazing. I wrote a lot about the experience of doing that, but I don't know that I could have written a lot of fiction at that time.
I feel like it's why I connect with women's fiction and why I've just really enjoyed going down that path. As growing up, the child of a single mom, my dad was just not around much. My sister, I have recreated my family dynamic other than my not leaving my family like my dad did. But in terms of the sibling structure, where my sister was the oldest, and then my brother was shortly after, and then I was 6 years younger than my older sister. So just having that experience. But then when I'm originally from Buffalo, which isn't too far away from where I am now. But when we moved down here, I was a stay-at-home dad for a couple of years. Before I went from stay-at-home dad to kids at work dad when we bought the bookstore. So I have had not the typical male.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that then these stories would resonate with you because, I mean, these are stories of being occupied with raising children.
Aside from the menopause.
Yes, aside from the menopause.
I'm obsessed with music, and it just kind of weaves into a lot of the things that I do. So I ask authors, even if it's not obvious, if it's a part of their writing process, how much, or does it at all, does music influence your writing?
Oh my God, it influences my writing so intensely. Like We All Want Impossible Things is a very song-driven book because that book is based on the real life experience of my best friend dying in hospice. And there was a music therapist and we just played music and we had a speaker. And that whole experience was flavored by music. And my writing of it was also, I can't write with music on, which is a slight... I have to write in quiet or with like white noise of a cafe or something, but I listen to music all the time that I'm not writing, and I feel very, I feel really in it. Like I'm doing this thing with Jen Hatmaker, and she asked for a playlist for Sandwich, and my daughter Brady helped me create it, and it was just so resonant, these songs that just felt so completely of that book for me. like this artist Waxahachie, and there were just these songs that we put on that playlist, and I felt like, oh my God, that's what this book is this collection of songs.
Where can we find that playlist?
I don't know. I think that's a great question. I assume Jen Hatmaker's gonna create it on Spotify and put it out in some way. I'm doing her book club, I think tomorrow, and I think that playlist will show up somewhere, but I don't know where.
You'll have to let me know.
I know I will.
It's my greatest joy when I read a book and then at the end of the book, it has the playlist for the book. I'm going to ask you for recommendations. I normally don't throw a bunch of recommendations at the author, but I think, have you heard of Lauren Oakey's The Best Worst Thing?
No.
It comes out in October, so another October book birthday. But her novel is inspired by her struggles with becoming pregnant with her husband. And the novel, which the bad parts of it were not part of her life, fortunately, but it kicks off with a woman coming home and she hears the babysitter or the dog sitter call down for her husband. So she realizes that her husband is cheating on her with the dog sitter. And it gets into just the windy path of, and within 24 hours of that, she discovers that the surrogate, that it was like their last ditch effort, then becomes pregnant with their future child that she now questions whether or not she wants. So the autofiction of it and the messiness of the characters in it and the imperfect way that they walk through the life, I think would be right up your alley.
Okay, sounds great. I wrote it down.
So because I gave you some recommendations, you can throw some my way.
Okay. I mean, I'm recommending Sam Irby's entire catalog. The new Lily King, but also any Lily King. Mm-hmm. I mean, Lovers and Writers. She's just a fave of mine. She's like, for me, she's one of those, she's like Ann Patchett for me, where an Ann Patchett book, I will automatically buy it. And I don't buy a ton of books, partly because people send me so many books and partly because I have a library. But I will put in an order at my local bookstore for an Ann Patchett book if I know it's coming out. And when it comes in, I will feel like I have a thing to look forward to. Like I'll save it for something really good. I just read a book that a great friend of mine from college wrote called The Salt Stones. Her name is Helen Wybrow. It was on NPR a couple of weeks ago, and it's starting to get some real energy around it. And it's the most incredible book. It's a book about her life in Vermont as a shepherd. She tends this massive flock of sheep. And it's a book about her relationship to the land and motherhood and daughterhood. And it is so like lusciously, the writing is unbelievable. It's so poetic, but also it's so good and readable. Like it sounds very precious, and it's not at all. It's like when I was a kid, I read all the James Herriot books, like All Creatures Great and Small. Maybe you don't know those books. He's a British vet. And it had that feeling to me of being just immersed in this world with like animals and stuff happening on a farm. And it was philosophical and poetic. Anyway, The Salt Stones. I'm telling you, you're going to read it and thank me.
Okay.
You don't have to send a note. I'll just feel it.
Okay. I will add it to my list.
Okay, good.
You've revisited Rocky now with Rec. Do you feel like you're going to continue with Rocky? Do you feel like there's going to be a struggle to get away from that family if you decide to go down another path for another story?
I think that's a great question. I'm not really sure. I'm in a most of the work of writing for me, I mean, the work of writing is the writing, obviously, but a lot of the work of creating a book is this long period of like gathering, which I'm in right now, where I'm just like noticing and paying attention, writing a lot of stuff down, and I'm not sure where it's headed. I don't know yet. Usually I have to sit on it for a while and figure out kind of what's going to shake out of it. So I don't really know. I'm not in a writing process. But I'm in a voluminous note-taking process.
And is that there's the planners and pantsers of the world?
Yes.
Where do you fall in that spectrum?
I think I am more of a plotter than not, but it's very inexact. Like if it's like I have all these stars that are like pieces of conversation and funny stories and feelings and happenings. And I think of the plot as like, creating a constellation of those points that has a certain shape. And I know the points kind of, and I know something about the shape it's going to be, but a lot will change. It's like the writing takes on its own momentum and its own, some voices get louder when you're writing, or elements of the plot present themselves to your brain as if they're news to you, which I know is hilarious because it's just your own brain, but it's like dream work, where it's like you're not even consciously deciding something. I'll go for a walk and be like, shoot, this has to happen to this character. So it's kind of a mix, but I have the shape. Like I won't start writing until I have the shape of it.
How much is the end of the book and where the story is going? You let the characters kind of tell you where the story is going, but do you generally have that endpoint in mind as you're writing?
Yeah, but it's pretty shifty. Like I won't give any spoilers about the endpoints, but I feel like I'll fill in, I'll make myself a chart. I'll guess that the book will have 25 chapters. It's just a guess. I don't totally know what each chapter is, and I'll fill in the first 5 and the last. And then the middle, I have the flavor of some of them. But I always think I know the last chapter, and I'm usually a little bit wrong about it, it turns out. Like I'm a little, the first novel I ever wrote was We All Want Impossible Things, and I obviously knew that this character had to die. The book takes place in hospice. That would be a real broken contract, right? Yeah. Even though it was fiction, I was like, maybe she doesn't die. But I put it off for so long that chapter sort of receded into the, distance in this weird way, because I didn't want to write this. I didn't want to end my time with this person being alive. It was such a pleasure to have her with me while I was writing this lost person. And so every night I would sit down to dinner. I was telling you it was during the pandemic, and the kids would say, how'd it go today? I know you were going to try to write that really hard scene where she dies. And I'd be like, weirdly, I didn't get to it yet. This other thing had to happen. Like I just kept postponing the inevitable, but mostly it's not like that. I mostly have I'll have a little sense of a character arc, that someone was teasing me that Rocky's entire character arc in Sandwich is that by the end of the book, she feels okay that the kids want to get sandwiches from a deli. Like that's her whole arc. It's just like, okay, we're going to eat purchased sandwiches, but it's not her whole arc.
Yeah. To throw just one more recommendation at you.
Yeah, please.
Ray Robertson is an author out of Ontario. He's published through Biblioasis, and he's a curmudgeon of a man, but somehow we became friends and just developed an appreciation for each other. But one of his novels is Estates Large and Small, and it has it's set during the pandemic. the main character is a used bookstore owner, and he has to shift everything online. But he gets all of his books through estate sales, and a lot of times he's dealing with the widow. So he goes to the person's house. He's expecting that it's a woman who lost their husband, but she's actually dying from cancer. So it has that same sort of like
Okay.
the match is lit, and you see where the story is going to be heading. But that is Ray Robertson and Andre Dubus III are two male authors that I can still rely on.
Okay, good.
I know that you're going to write a story where all of the characters will feel right. So States Large and Small by Ray Robertson.
Okay.
Must read. And then one last question, because for the people that listen to the podcast or watch our content, a lot of them are aspiring writers. One of them is me. So what general advice do you have for writers?
Yeah, I mean, I have different advice, I come at it from different ways. I feel like the advice people give of, putting in the time in the chair, butt in the chair, that is a huge piece of it. I like, just to be funny, but it's actually a true study, but I like to cite this study where they tracked these composers over time. They were trying to figure out about like how people produce music, and one of the big conclusions they drew is that the more time you spend writing music, the more music you write.
Oh, wow.
Right. Pretty obvious, right? More time you spend writing, the more writing gets done. So some of it is that, and I have these weird tricks to motivate myself. Like if I still smoked cigarettes, I would reward myself with cigarettes, but sadly I haven't smoked cigarettes in 25 years. But I have these weird reward systems, and they're very small and very silly, and they work great for me. Any accountability. So I have a sticker chart. I'll make it for the whole month.
Okay.
Every time I write 500 words in a day, I get a sticker on that day. This is literally how I write. I motivate myself with stickers like a potty training child. And what it is, it's the same way I quit drinking, and I used an accountability app for it. This was like almost 2 years ago, where the app, you had to log in every day that you hadn't had a drink, or the app would, or you'd have to log in that you had had a drink, and the app would show it to you, show you yourself. And I feel that way about the sticker chart. It shows me that I'm writing, and it's a kind of accountability partner, because I don't like to be in writing groups for weird reasons, even though I think they're great sort of theoretically. So that, and then I think to be, even if you're not writing autofiction, to get at the most honest layer you can get to in whatever story you're telling. Like to go one layer deeper when you're working through something is some advice. I used to teach writing, and that was something I thought about a lot at that time, just that way that you can think you're being honest with this kind of like performative honesty, but if you get at something a little messier, like to allow something to not be all wrapped up. And if that's the kind of writing you're doing, is like trying to get at emotional truth versus, like writing the screenplay for Star Wars or whatever. Although I'm sure even the screenplay for Star Wars, the point of it is the feelings, that despite the fact that they've created this world, we know how these people feel. We know how it feels for Luke to be orphaned. I don't know why I'm talking about Star Wars. I know nothing about it. Anyway, just those things. Those are my pieces of advice. And to read a lot, which I know you do.
Yes. I have these awkward experiences where there's just like certain popular things that I've not.
Oh my God.
Like Star Wars Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And right now, it just reminded me of, for the Chamber of Commerce, we have a golf tournament coming up. Never played golf in my life other than putt-putt. So
No.
my job is like member relationship and like sales and sponsorship. So I'm talking about what the sponsors get out of it. And I'm like, where you tee up, you kick off, that's with where you start the hole.
Where there's something with the,
I
feel ya.
Yeah. So that is where I'm at. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Yeah. Rec comes out October 28th. This is the pre-order podcast, and part of that is to encourage pre-orders. And by doing that, in addition to just talking about great books and that you should buy anyways, we offer a 20% discount on any of the books that are coming out up until the day that they come out. So that'll be up on our website. There's no promo code or anything that you need. It'll just be in there and available. Anything that you'd like to add before we?
No, but it was lovely to, I was going to say meet you in real life. This is as real life as we are right now, you and I, but it's great.